I was just talking about how I've been watching the Below Deck channel on Peacock.
There's a
It's been
channel?
on like constantly and like it has been my lifesaver. So in all like okay, like to be serious, like or get real, like I'm going through this MS flare right now, right? And it's really bad. Like it's like affected my whole leg. My leg doesn't work. It doesn't leg. I can't, walk. It's a whole thing. I've got all these muscle problems. I got these pain problems. Although the pain is considerably less with Lexi's interventions. um,
Oh,
so it's been really bad, and it's caught. There's a lot of like I'm dealing with a lot of emotional stuff too, because it's like I'm going down to see my kid and at college this weekend, and I can't run a 5K with him because obviously I could barely even walk, and it's just like there's a lot. It's emotionally, it's been really, really fucking hard, and so the Below Deck channel has proven to be the exact right, perfect like level of intellectual stimulation that I can handle. Like I can't handle anything too serious because I'm so emotional about everything else. Like everything sets me off, right? Like the wrong ASPCA commercial is going to set me off. I'm going to
mhm.
start bawling and stuff. And like there's like I just listened to some podcasts while I was in the bath, and because that's where I listen to like my audiobooks and stuff. But having like Below Deck is like I can't watch the news. I can't watch anything that I really need to focus on because my brain's not really all there. And so Below Deck has proven to be exactly what I need. And it's like the Below Deck channel on Peacock is great because it's, I mean, okay, so I can go watch any episode I want. I've seen all the seasons 1,000 times. I have it on demand. I can go and watch it. So if I felt like, oh, I need to go watch this season, I can go put that one on. But the thing about the channel on Peacock is that it's like roulette. It's like, what Below Deck am I gonna get? You don't know which one it's gonna be on.
That sounds fun.
So yeah, so like right now they're showing season 4 of Regular, which is the season with um Emily, Ben and Emily. So Ben's the chef, Kate's the chief stew, Kelly's the bosun, Emily's the English rose that Ben falls in love with. Um this is the season that Kate turns lesbian and has the lesbian girlfriend Ro. Um So it's that season. So that's the one that happens to be on now. And what I love is they show the reunion shows too. Like if they're showing the whole season, you'll get the reunion show too and go on.
That's
So
funny.
so that's been my I swear to God, it's been my saving grace because it helps keep like my mind out of like 'cause it's just been really, really fucking hard. There's been a lot of tears, probably not as many tears as need to happen, honestly. Um, I've been borderline tears because I've been really trying to honestly, I've been trying to ignore it and just like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. I've been trying to minimize it. And um it's not helping. It's not helping the situation. So um yeah, anyway, so that's that's what's going on this
Aw.
in this neck of the woods over
Well, and
here.
I've been in an MCAS flare for the last like 3 days too. So I don't know
Oh
if
my
it's like
God.
the eclipse or the change in weather or like I don't know what, but yeah, I'm also in a flare if it
So what
makes you
does
feel any
that look
better.
like for you?
So my MCAS flares may look different than other MCAS flares because the fun fact is that mast cells are part of the immune system and are in all our bodies, all over in all the systems. And
Right,
so
right.
it affects people differently. For me, a lot of mine is GI stuff because for some reason my mast cells in my GI tract just like to freak out a lot.
Okay, okay.
And so for me, it's just been a lot of like stomach pain and stomach
Mhm.
cramps when eating or just randomly. Like I finished a spiritual direction session today and like my stomach just started cramping randomly. And I was like,
Just for
that's
funsies.
fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
just for fun.
Yeah.
And so it's just been frustrating because I'm like, I have to eat to live and then I'll eat and then my stomach hurts. And I'm like, oh, it shouldn't
Yeah.
hurt when you're doing something that you need to keep
Yeah.
yourself alive. But and I just feel like weak and like not good and like
Tired and kind of
yeah,
overall icky and just
and
that.
just
Yeah.
like fatigue and yeah.
Mhm.
So Sometimes it's worse than others. That's what I'm having right now. But
I'm so sorry for you guys. I really am.
well, I need to come down and get acupuncture from you.
You do. And I will say that yesterday, everyone showed up in the clinic with weird symptoms.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Eclipse day. Oh, we wanted to talk about the eclipse anyways.
Yeah. Like head
Talk about
pressure, headaches, sleep disruption,
Interesting.
Anger was a huge one. And I felt that the last few
Ooh.
days, like really angry. Sure. Like,
Interesting.
but people were coming in like, I'm just so irritable. And it happened with 5 people yesterday. And then I had a
What?
couple people today that were like, I feel better after yesterday, after the eclipse. It was very
Huh.
interesting. Like I feel calmer. I feel like I slept good last night for the first time in a week or whatever. It was weird.
Interesting.
Like I don't
I-
ever have sleep issues, but
Well,
I had sleep
lunar,
issues.
we know that the lunar cycles and stuff like affect us physically. Like we know this affects the tides, it affects our
Right.
moon cycle or whatever you want to call it, you know.
Well, we're 80% water. So like if it's affecting tides,
Yeah.
it's probably going to affect us a little bit, right? I don't know.
Right.
There are people who don't believe it, but I've seen too much now. I've just
Right.
seen too much.
Well, those are the
No,
same people who won't believe that there's the ghosty spirits that touched me during acupuncture a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
So that happened.
Yep.
alrighty.
Yeah. It was really kind of interesting. It was all positive. It was all a very positive experience. And I think that the spirit was actually connected to Lexi.
So like ancestors type thing,
Like I
or
think
Me?
his spirit guide, it had to do with my treatment, the treatment that she was giving me at the time, or treatment in general. And the message that I got was that this is right, this is the right thing, you're doing the right thing, like confirming that Lexi's treatment of me was the right way, like confirming her instincts or whatever, you know.
I
That's
want to
cool.
throw in there that we were not in a garage. We were
We were not in a garage, correct?
we were in a clinic.
It wasn't a magic garage.
Thank
We were
you for
at the clinic in
clarifying.
the wood. We were in the wood room, yeah.
Yes.
Just even though the water room should be my room, we end up in the wood room is where this happened.
Mm.
All their rooms are based on the elements, obviously.
Right.
I will say I had a patient who had an experience in the earth room too, where he was touched. So
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So
And
maybe it is why we have a flare up is the eclipse. Maybe.
well, I know
chaos.
that mine probably started because of the trial that I did last fall. It would be perfectly within that province because it was the last trial I did back in 2017, was the impetus. The stress of that trial is what brought on the exacerbation that diagnosed my MS. So it would not surprise me at all that this trial that I had this last fall would have been the impetus for like the stress of it, bringing something on. Although that has been over for a while. Like, and I say that because the part of the leg hip pain stuff I associate a lot with when I was up in Buffalo because had to do a lot of walking up there, and all of the walking is what causes all the pain. So we can manage the pain. The pain gets treated. Lexi can get rid of the pain. But once I start using my leg again, what part of my leg is still working? Because half my leg is just not legging. It's just not working.
It's not legging.
It's just not legging.
How dare you not leg? Sorry.
I know. That's just what's happening though. So only like part of it is working, like my
Yeah.
big toe and the second toe, like follow that line up. That's the only part that works on that leg. So we can get rid of the pain, but then walking and using it to the extent that I can use it because it's also very weak, causes more pain. But the reduction of the pain also exposes the weakness more. So once we've been able to get the pain under control for the first time, like it was like a month ago, finally started to get a pain under control. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I can sit and walk a little bit more normally. That's when I started noticing a lot more of the weakness and stuff. And that's apparently pretty typical of this MS spasticity, sort of the course of it, of how it works and how people, deal with it. Because much like your stuff, Becca, there's no, no two MSers are alike, right?
Right.
And one thing that I learned that was really interesting, and this is, I think, true of pretty much any autoimmune disorder, is that, like, for me, my cells can't, some of my cells can't transmit the signals that need to be transmitted, because of the eating away of the myelin or whatever. So the rest of the cells work extra hard to go around it and to compensate for it. So that contributes to the body fatigue and things that we feel like. There's already a fatigue component of MS, and I know of your disease as well. And then it's like, on top of that, there's even more because of what your body's trying to do. And then your body gets all jacked up because, since I can't really use certain parts of my leg, everything else in my body compensates to try to be able to walk and move and things like that. And that causes all kinds of jacked up things. So that's why I'm in the chiropractor's office, So I transfer between the chiropractor, Lexi's acupuncture table, and a massage table. And
Kaya was screaming yay as you were saying all the things that were going on wrong with your body, and
What?
I'm so sorry. Kaya was screaming yay, yay, as you were like, my leg can't move my leg. It's like, yay, yay. I'm like, oh my
Thanks,
God, I'm
Kaya.
sorry.
I appreciate
head-
that, Kaya.
I have my headphones and I just want to apologize to anyone listening. My daughter is not a mean-spirited person.
No, and she loves
She's
me.
distracted.
Anyway, so that's what I've been dealing with. And, it's, so for anyone out there that's dealing with autoimmune disorders or any other chronic disease or anything, I mean, but it's like, I get it. I see you. I hear you. I feel you. And it's okay to be, not okay.
And rest.
Mhm.
It's okay to rest. Our consumer society tries to convince us that's not okay because our worth is only what we produce, but that's not true. So
Yes.
please
Ooh,
rest
please
your
tell
body
us
when you
more.
need. It's not like I write about minimalism or anything, but
I know, right? You just posted a new one that's like right exactly along like what I've trying to work on right now, which you're
Oh.
talking about, like the is it the well, I'll let you talk about. I'll let you.
Oh, the one about desires and marketing and advertising.
The
That one.
marketing and advertising, and how it, like, oh, you see this advertised to you and all of a sudden you like have to have it. Like that's me. That was me for so long. Once I finally realized that I was doing that, the realization was like, oh, okay, I get it. Maybe I don't really, okay. So yeah.
Well, and what's interesting about that, right, is like we assume because we see ads so much that we can just like tune them out. But what we
Right.
don't realize is like advertising has changed over time. So like it used to be back in the day, right, that like when advertising, anyway, I could go on this forever, but like advertising used to be about products and like what they did, versus now where advertising is specifically geared to show us how this product will appeal to our base desires. So like love, connection, belonging, family, those kinds of things. And so it's even harder for us to not want to buy the product because it's like connecting to those things that is natural for us to want. Right? Like it's not
So
bad to want.
insidious.
Right.
But
like
some
it's
of
not.
those products are like game changers. Some of them
for
are
sure.
really good.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that like all products are bad, right? And so like in my blog post on Christian minimalism, I was talking about how like it's not bad for us to want those things, right? It's natural to want belonging and love and family and human connection. But what we have to be aware of is that like advertising is specifically trying to manipulate that to sell us things.
That's yeah. That's pretty cool. I mean, like, so I just watched The Social Dilemma. Last weekend I watched it with my stepdaughter. And it was like, several years old, but so it's like outdated a lot probably, but it goes to a lot of all of that stuff, right? Like how manipulative this stuff is to get your attention and to get you engaged and to do all that kind of stuff.
Right. And like buying products isn't evil, right? Like sometimes
Right.
you need
It's
to buy
not
things,
inherently evil.
right? But like oftentimes they're selling things that we don't necessarily need. or even want
Right.
sometimes, but we watch it and we're like, oh, that'll make us beautiful so people will love us, right?
That'll make me more efficient and a better worker. And
Yeah, and then I can be more productive and,
Mhm.
make more for the capitalist machine. Right? Like, anyway.
Right.
But yeah. So that was an interesting piece to write because I had to do a lot of research on like what advertising has been over time. And then I also had to do research on like some specific examples of how companies have used desires in marketing and advertising. So that it was actually kind of fascinating because
Fascinating. Now let's
Anyway.
go back a step and talk about the eclipse again. So yesterday, as we're recording this, the eclipse was Monday, yesterday. So depending on where you were at in the country, I think Becca, you were of all of us, you were the closest to totality. We had like 80, I had like 87% where I'm at. Lexi probably was very similar. And I don't know what you were at up there.
We were at 98.2%.
Damn. So
Yeah.
you guys did the whole thing and were out there.
Yeah. I will say it was interesting because like even people who are where I am, where it's like super close to the Adirondacks, still like made the trek up north to be in totality. And like obviously totality, it's different. Like even though we were at 98.2 and it got dark, but it wasn't completely dark, right? Like it wasn't like nighttime dark, it was like dusk dark.
Yeah.
But it was still really weird. Like you're watching it and all of a sudden like it gets colder and it's just like getting darker. You're like, "Whoo, this is creepy," and then it's done. But I have friends that like, drove an hour or so
I've
farther
got
north.
friends who went up to Buffalo, actually, or Erie, Niagara for it.
Yeah. Like my friend in Rochester posted a video of it and it was crazy. Like it was full on night. So like I could totally see where like people in the past, if you didn't know what was happening, would be like the world is ending.
Speaking of the world ending, let's talk about the Bible and eclipses because that has been apparently a thing. I didn't know this, but today I learned as Lexi was asking questions, and
I had to ask because I saw it online.
People were
I'm
like,
sure
it must
you
be
did.
true, right?
Well, no, just people talking about the eclipse and what the Bible says about it, and I was like, I'm gonna go to the religious expert directly.
Okay, so everyone's like, oh yeah, the Bible talks about an eclipse. I'm like, well, kind of, sort of. So it's in Revelation chapter 5, verse 12. It says, and so this is like John of Patmos talking, the dude who wrote Revelation. He says, and I beheld when I had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood.
So what does that mean? Translate that for us.
So, okay. So here's the thing about the book of Revelation. It was all very symbolic for the people at the time who were reading it, right? Like they would have read it and been like, oh, that makes sense because blah, 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 blah. We don't have that context. And so a lot of the symbolism is just completely lost on us. So people take things that like were symbolic for people in that time and place and make them into like literal things for today. Which was not right. Yeah, which was not what the original intention was. Also, this whole thing is like a big vision that like John of Patmos has. And so it's literally like someone is tripping. I'm like, not literally. It probably didn't take drugs, but
he's having hallucinations.
Right, but it's like trying to make sense of someone's like dream vision.
Okay.
So like the book of Revelation is just like super fascinating. The whole point is like to give hope to people who are dealing with crap, right?
Okay.
Like, and so like if you look at the overarching thing, you're like, cool. But then you like if you get too micro-y into it, you get this kind of thing where people are like, there was an earthquake and now there's an eclipse, and that means like
that's the thing. There was this earthquake in New York, and then there was the eclipse, and like what? Oh my God! So what's going to happen next? Is it the rapture next? Are people just going to suddenly be yeeted out of Earth? Like what's going to happen next?
So you're going to get me into all these apocalyptic things. So
do we need to start Mormon doomsday prepping? Like I just need to know.
Speaking of, I mean, Chad Daybell's on. They seated a jury in his trial, so. Yeah. Anyway.
Interesting. Yeah, I totally didn't know that was a Mormon thing until recently, where people were like, "Oh, I was canning," and I was like, "What?" And it's like that's like a thing
Yeah.
Mormons do. I did not know that. I know a lot of stuff about Mormons. That wasn't one of them. But what's but like here's the thing: is like John of Patmos didn't live in America, and so like the earthquake happened on the East Coast here, and then like the path of totality was in America. So like clearly John of Patmos isn't talking about the earthquake and the eclipse here in 2024.
Yeah, I always think it's really fascinating because the doomsday or whatever, they're all like, oh, the world's gonna end on this day or whatever. And then when the world doesn't end, then they have to like change the goalpost, right? They
Right.
have to move the goalpost about what the next thing is that
Well, and like the thing is,
whatever.
Jesus literally says, like, you will not know the day or time. Like that's a direct quote. So like it's so weird to me that people like spend so much time like trying to figure out because he's literally like, you're not gonna know. He says that. So whatever.
Do you remember
Oh,
Y2K prepping?
oh
That
my
reminds me.
gosh. I
Yeah, oh
totally
yeah.
do.
Yeah,
Some
yeah,
of our
yeah.
listeners may not even been
Have
alive.
been born then.
Right?
Right.
Oh, I was going to talk about the rapture. So what people don't realize about that whole concept is that like it came up from like some random like dude who wrote a note in the margin of his Bible in like the 1800s.
The rapture
Yeah, like it's
as a
sort of
concept.
yes. So it was I swear. So it was sort of based on like a Bible verse in I think Second Thessalonians where it's like we'll meet Jesus up in the air or something. And he took that and like made this whole concept of the rapture, which is not really what it's saying at all. And like people took that and like decided this was a thing based on some dude's random note in the margins of his Bible.
So basically, in a lot of my
Right.
textbooks, I took random notes and margins, and there's people out there that are going to take my notes and be like, wow, this girl's a genius. Look at her notes in the
Look at what
column.
they said back in
Totally. Like, isn't that
Back in-
wild? It's just so
yeah.
wild that like someone took like this dude's notes and like it wasn't just some random dude, like it was someone who studied theology. It wasn't just like some random person off the street. But like it's still weird that someone took like a random note in his that he wrote in the margins of his Bible as like literal biblical fact.
like the rapture, just gonna yeet everybody out of existence. Well, okay.
Anyway,
We didn't get a lot of theology in this episode.
Garrick talked a lot. Garrick and
Did we?
Danielle talked a lot about
We got
God,
a lot of
and then
Portuguese.
and we got a lot of Portuguese that sounded like
Ish.
something, and then we also had a lot about the Quran, which is interesting.
Oh, right. Okay, that's right.
So we had a little bit.
Okay, so I fast forwarded through them because they bored me. So you guys are gonna have to talk about them. So we're talking about seeking to survive. Told you all, I'm having a day. I've been. There's only so much that I can handle.
I mean, I get it. Your leg isn't legging. You have to like.
Mhm.
I couldn't handle the Salehis. I mean, it's like the fourth episode in a row of the three, the two of them talking about why they want to do polygamy, and the grandma saying no, or mom or whatever saying that's gross in Germany.
Yeah, it's boring.
Like, that's all we're getting. Like
This
Literally, that's the
episode is
only stuff we're
boring.
getting about them.
so I don't care about them anymore.
Hey, fraudcasters. Everyone knows that finding the perfect t-shirt can be such a challenge. I know I've always had problems with it, whether it was the fit or the quality. Luckily, the perfect t-shirt does exist, and you can find it at Skims, the maker of my perfect t-shirt bra. Now I have the perfect t-shirt to go with that bra. From either crop silhouettes to long sleeve layering tees, there's a style for everyone. My cotton jersey t-shirt is now a wardrobe staple for me. I reach for it almost every day, and the fit is so perfect because it snatches me right in at the waist. I've washed it a million times, and it's held its shape really well. It fits like a dream. I absolutely love it. And honestly, you guys, I thought like, okay, this shirt is going to be too small for me, and it's not going to fit right, and all the bulges are going to show. But it doesn't at all. I put it on and it magically stretches to fit me perfectly, and it holds all those bulges in. Every little but last bulge that I have is all held in, and it looks fantastic. I absolutely love it, and it is super super comfortable, and it is one of my new favorite t-shirts. You can shop the Skims t-shirt collection at skims.com, now available in sizes extra extra small up to 4X. And if you haven't yet, be sure to let them know that we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop down menu.
So we're doing Seeking Sister Wives season 5, episode 6.
Yep, seeking commitment.
Mhm.
Previously on the last episode, we see Sarah meeting Shane or open to meeting Shane. She's talking about how she's open to meeting Shane while she's dating Ashley. Keisha ghosts Naeem and Nyla. Garrick lies about how his dating app situation on his phone to Natalia and Danielle. And Becky and Justin just decide to show up to their girlfriend Stephanie's house when she told
Ex-girlfriend.
them to stay away.
That always ends well, right?
Right?
Yes.
It sounds like the perfect
Yeah, exactly.
perfect
gosh.
perfect ending.
So then the episode starts off with Shane and Ashley going to meet Sarah. And it's Ashley's second date with her, but it's Shane's first time meeting her. And they're going to go play mini golf. And
Today's
I love-
episode of Seeking Wife.
Right. Well, what gets me is like when they're interviewing Sarah and she's like, yeah, he's like an average guy, like a dad. Oh my God.
That made me laugh so hard.
It's just like, okay, that's probably a good thing compared to like Garrick or Nick, who look like
I mean, yeah. I mean, he does seem rather bland, but not bad. Like he's fine for somebody else. I just prefer a little more salt and pepper within and spices on my food, but he seems perfectly
You like
fine.
him spicy? Is that what you're saying?
A little bit. I like him a little bit more spicy. But it's not saying that he's wrong necessarily.
Right.
I mean, there's
Right.
somebody out there who doesn't have the palate for the stuff I put in my mouth.
I don't know where this metaphor is going.
I'm just gonna shut up now.
This
Well,
is fantastic.
we find out Sarah has a son who's 8 years old, and Sarah herself is only 28, which I was kind of surprised about, to be honest. I was like, okay.
Is that younger than you thought she was?
I thought she was way older.
Oh,
I'll be
really?
honest. And not
Hmm.
like, I don't know. She just, I don't know. What do I know?
Yeah,
But then I'm also thinking like the couple themselves. I don't remember how old Shane and Ashley are.
I
I
thought
would
they were in
think
their
like mid-30s.
I think
Yeah, I thought they were in their
young
30s.
30s, young 30s probably. I mean,
Okay.
they go out, they're professional axe throwers, like and beer pong like competitions. Like they
Mhm.
can't be any older than like 32.
Oh man. Well,
I've
Shane,
axe thrown and I can't like lift my arm for days. I just want to be... and I'm turning 40.
Never tried it.
oh, you've never been, Katrina?
I've never been.
It's so
Aw,
fun. You'll just
that's
be really
fun.
sore.
Well, I have that's my right shoulder is my bionic shoulder. So,
Oh, then don't axe throw.
so maybe because that's my fake shoulder. So I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, probably not a good idea.
I'm glad it wasn't around when I was still drinking because I feel like me drinking around axe throwing is just not something that sounds like it would be safe combination.
Well, that's the thing. Like bars do axe throwing, and I'm like, this is not safe. Like
I
I
know.
only go to the axe throwing places that are just axe throwing.
Right. There's no alcohol around.
Right? There's no alcohol involved.
There's
Anyway.
one right by the campus in Virginia Tech, and because I've driven by it 1,000 times, and I'm like, no, I'm not going there.
Yeah,
But
that's not okay.
drunk college kids.
It's funny that because on my memories on Facebook, it actually came up the axe throwing that my friend group and I did a few years ago. Came up today.
Oh,
My
really?
memories. So I was like, oh, interesting.
It's fun. And if you have someone to like coach you, usually the places have a coach that's like with you and doing
Okay.
I
it.
think it's like a liability thing because our group had one guy and we were all drinking and he was making sure we didn't put the axes down wrong or, fling them around.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's
like
just-
archery where they have very specific rules about like when you throw and where you put them when you're done and like, yeah.
That,
For
no,
safety.
that just sounds dangerous to me. So, mm-mm. Not a good place for Katrina.
We'll take that in mind for when we take you out for your milestone birthday.
Exactly.
Okay.
We'll take you out to mini golf with a third wheel just to make it awkward.
One of us will just flirt with women. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
We find out more about Sarah too. We find out that she has gone out on dates with couples before and it was never really serious. More of like a friends with benefits dating situation. And Shane said that was a red flag. What
And
do you
he's
guys
so full of
think?
shit for all the reasons that Sarah says he's full of shit. Like, just because that's what's happened in the past, you didn't ask me what I'm looking for. Or, I mean, how is that representative of what I'm looking for? No. Maybe I'm looking for something and I haven't gotten it yet. That's why I'm here with you, you motherfucker, dumbass.
Well, and also like it would have been like she was screwed if she did or screwed if she didn't. Because if she had like been in a like more similar situation of like a committed couple, third person coming in, like then he would have been like, well, why didn't that one work out? I think that's a red flag because
Yeah,
that didn't work
exactly,
out. Right.
exactly.
So like I feel like he was just looking for stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
I agree.
Shane and what's her name?
Ashley,
the doctor. They don't seem like they're good together. Like they don't seem
Oh,
like their
Ashley does not.
chemistry
I don't think Ashley likes men.
at
I'm
all.
not convinced that she
Like
likes
once
men at
she
all.
realized
Oh,
that she liked women,
interesting.
do you think she realized she actually doesn't like men at all?
Yes.
huh?
I think that this is just an excuse for her to.
She's talking to Kaya right now.
She stops mid.
She stopped in the middle of a sentence.
Oh, I had to go.
She's still going.
I don't even know what I was saying, but
You were
Yeah,
saying
no, I
you
don't-
think this is just in her giving her an excuse
Excuse.
to.
yeah, I think
Well,
she
she gets
she's
her
realized.
kids out of it. She gets kids by being
Yeah,
married
and
to
I
him.
also think I know I've mentioned this before, but I do think she's a terrible psychiatrist because her questioning was terrible. I'm like, okay, isn't your job to question people and
Shouldn't
dive
you be
into
able to
their
read people better than this?
right? And she's like, I'm like, wait, what's going
She's back to talking to Kaya. We'll keep going.
Yes, just pick up for her. Your
So-
thoughts on that, Becca? Do you
So like I'm not convinced of that. Like I think she's just trying to like merge two parts of her and she doesn't know how to do that yet.
right?
Like I because like our society has no idea what to do about bisexuality in general. So she has
Right.
like no model for that, for like healthy bisexuality.
Especially
And so
with she said she grew up in a conservative religious or whatever, so she couldn't explore it. It wasn't on the table.
right. So I wonder if it's more that versus her realizing like she's like actually gay versus like she's just trying to figure out a way to be bisexual and like doesn't know how to do that yet. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, there could be there. It sounds like, I mean, yeah, I think I tend to agree with that, although I wouldn't rule out Lexi's theory either.
Well, I think she's just suppressed her feelings her whole life because of the conservative church, maybe.
Yeah.
Right.
And then now it's like, oh, wait, this is how I really am. But oh, I'm stuck. I'm a little trapped.
I'm
I have a
married.
kid, I'm married, and I'm pregnant.
Right.
So
Yeah, interesting.
But
Let
she
me
can,
just-
this way, if she does it this way, she can have both. She can have the family, because I mean, not that she couldn't have a family with another female, but in her world, this is the easiest, right? She's already sleeping with a man. There's already penis and vagina, They can
There's always Jesus
Wait,
jizz.
wait, is
Jesus
that how
jizz.
you make a baby? I wasn't sure.
only if it's Jesus jizz.
Only if it's Jesus jizz.
Only if Jesus himself sanctions it.
Oh my gosh.
I wouldn't be surprised though if she meets a female and falls in love and really falls in love, kind of like how Cody fell in love with Robin, and then it's game over. Then she's out. She's divorcing Shane, and
I think if that happened, it wouldn't necessarily be because she's bisexual and that person's a female. I think it would be because he's just kind of a bland kind of tool. He's kind of a cardboard box. Like there's just nothing to him,
I think he's
And
nice.
she finds somebody that she connects with more, that's a little bit more
That
big
has a
fat
vagina.
ass
Has a vagina.
and has a vagina.
I think also like Shane isn't getting a great edit either. Like I've been like watching and like there's other times where you can almost see like he's passionate about stuff, like when he talks about like axe throwing or like the
Beer
fact that they're
pong.
yeah, or like they're having another kid, like the couple times they've talked about that. And so like I think he's like actually a pretty like chill dude, but all we're seeing is like all his insecurities around his previous relationship where a woman left him for another woman come out.
And now he thinks his penis has the power.
And I
Right.
don't think Ashley has much personality so far from what we've seen. She doesn't
Mm-mm.
do well on the camera. She's not comfortable with filming. I mentioned that before, or she
Yeah.
just doesn't have much personality for this. But this is just not her jam.
Yeah,
I don't
she's not playing on the camera very well at all. Yeah.
I wonder how much is they just didn't know what like filming would be like.
Right. They're
Because it's
probably
very
just perfectly
different.
normal people, right?
Yeah, like
you
I
go
don't
out to
think
lunch with them, they're perfectly normal, fine, charismatic, normal people, but they're just not ones who adapted very well to the cameras being in front of them, which doesn't necessarily say anything bad about them. Like,
yeah, it's weird. I mean, I'll just say it, like having a camera in your face and people asking you questions for hours is weird.
Right. I mean, I would imagine.
I feel like they try to tear you down and make you lose all of your energy to where you're mentally exhausted, so then they can get whatever they want out of you at the end
It's
of
like
the
the same
filming.
tactics they use to get a confession
Mm.
in police
Pretty much.
interrogation.
I think
Yeah.
also too, like it's just they just ask so many questions about all these things that happened. And so like sometimes you don't even remember details. And so they'll be like, blah, blah, blah. And I'll be like, I don't remember. And they're like, no, you remember. And I'm like, I don't.
I don't actually.
Like that happened 3 days ago. Like, I have no idea. A lot of stuff has happened since then. Like I don't.
Yeah, no.
Anyway, so I think part of it too is just like you're overwhelmed by the amount of things that are happening while there's cameras in your faces. And so like I think you're
Yeah.
right. I think they just like aren't adjusting well to being filmed while they're going through this journey.
Right, which like you said doesn't necessarily mean say anything bad about them. Okay, so did we get anything else from them this episode?
I mean, not really. Not really, no.
Okay. And we
That's
didn't
pretty
get the
much it.
Davises at all this episode, but
No, but we're
I'm-
gonna get them a lot next episode apparently. So
because
Mhm.
they're gonna go date again because it's been a
Yeah.
week and a half, so it's time to date.
They
Gotta
gave
find that fourth
Danielle-
wife.
Has anything
They-
changed? How about
They
now?
gave, they
How
gave
about now?
Danielle, they gave her 48 hours to recover from moving back in, and then they're ready to.
As soon as she put her plants back, they were like, all right, let's do this.
All right, how about now? Are you ready now? Are you ready now? How about now? What about now? Are you there? Are we there yet? Oh, so that's the Davises. So then
We're
we
on the
got
Merrifields.
Oh
um,
gosh. Okay.
The what? Are we going to the
Merrifields.
Merrifields? Okay, Garrick.
God help us.
Okay.
Pray for. So yeah. Okay, where do I even begin with these fools? So we see Danielle giving Natalia a necklace to let her know how committed she is to her. And she's like,
Do you
Garrick
want to be
made
my
it.
sister?
Yeah, do you want to be my sister?
That was
Meanwhile,
such a weird
she's-
way to ask too. Like it
Yeah.
was just like
But that's how she called Bert, right? They always called
Yeah.
she called her sister.
she called
You
her
know,
sister.
and
Yeah.
and you see Garrick referring to them, to it as sister, to Danielle as
Right.
sister. And not the sister, a sister, she's just sister.
But meanwhile, she's telling producers, she's like, I don't know if this is right. But then she's like, I'll be my sister.
I know. And then she's like super excited when they're getting engaged. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah, she's like green card. Her mom's standing there going green card, green card. Green
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yes. But can we
The
talk
mom was
about what-
totally fine with it. I
Yeah,
was
because she
like,
gets a
course she
green card
was.
out of it.
yeah.
Can we talk about what the necklace looked like? Because I think it looked like a vagina turned sideways.
I think it looked like an evil eye, but not an evil eye. Like the blue evil eye like design. I think it was like a sideways one of those, but it was red instead of blue, and therefore is a serial killer eye.
And I think it was made of the trophies of all of the past wives that their sister girlfriends that they've dated. Like put the lotion in the basket. Like, I don't know what it's made out of, but I'm telling you, it's some sort of
He bought 'em in bulk.
cereal.
From Alibaba.
Cereal, like maybe it's like made from the bones of the past wives.
It also makes me wonder, like, who helped with the design. Like, you know, he didn't draw that.
God
So,
helped
like,
him.
No, he
Becca.
did, though,
God
'cause
helped
God
him.
helped
was
him.
like-
God.
It was
God
like,
spoke to
didn't
him,
he
and
say
that's what came out.
Didn't he
Oh my
say
God.
that?
I'm
That
just
God
like-
helped him design it or whatever?
On the mountaintop of wherever he was,
Yeah,
God
so-
said to him, Rose, something
So
Rose.
we have a new place that God has spoken to him. We've had a garage. We've had, I think they were in a garden at some point. Now we've got a mountaintop. So there's a lot of God
The
speaking.
mountaintop was what he said. What was said on the mountaintop about the rose?
It was about her meeting a future wife. And
It was they were going to meet a sweet rose,
Yes.
and that they was going to bring peace and healing to the family.
Convenient. That's convenient for him.
Yeah.
sounds
Or
like
it
he
could
was
just
doing
be
a
a
lot
real
of.
rose. He should have just bought a real rose and then put it in a vase, and then it would have brought peace and healing.
Would have done the same thing.
I don't know.
I want to know what kind of drugs he was on in the mountain. We know it was like maybe carbon monoxide poisoning in the garage with the car running, but what was he taking on the mountain to make him hallucinate?
Well, what's up on the mountain? What grows up there? Are there poppies up there? Like,
Was it lack of oxygen due to elevation?
is he
So-
is he snorting poppies there? Is he getting opiates? Like, what's happening?
So, like, biblically, a lot of, like, God speaks on mountaintops a lot. Like, that's a constant theme.
Why?
Well,
Why is that a theme?
Well, my guess is because people feel like they're closer to God.
Is there
being
no
higher up.
interference between you and the radio tower, like at the satellite? Like, you know, when you have DirecTV, you got to adjust your satellite.
Sure. I don't know. It's
Is
just
it like that? It's a clear signal.
No,
to
but
God?
a lot of people do that in just spiritual enlightenment and awakening,
Totally.
going into the woods and going into nature.
I think nature. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
all
but,
jokes
like-
aside, nature is very
totally. But I think
yeah.
the mountaintop is very much a very specific theme.
So,
in the
do
Bible.
people like Garrick go to mountaintop specifically to talk to God? Like, why is he on the mountaintop?
I mean, so it's not like a wise dude on top of a mountaintop with a beard situation.
Garrick's not a wise dude.
No, I'm talking about God,
What?
right? Like the like stereotypical thing of like people like hiking up a mountain to talk to like the wise dude with the beard. No,
Oh yeah.
that's like a thing. But like it's more just like I think it's partly like being closer to God, but then also like this idea of like being away from distractions. So that's why like the desert mothers and fathers went out to the desert and like did that because they wanted to be away from like worldly distractions. So they could like
okay.
hang with
I can
God,
buy
right?
that. I can buy that.
But like, for example, like there's multiple things, right? Like Moses got the 10 Commandments on the mountain, on Mount Sinai, and then like Jesus is transfigured or like changed in front of the inner circle of the disciples, like showing who he is, right? Like, so there's multiple situations of like things happening on mountaintops. So he's playing on that.
Okay.
So
So
anyway, so
Garrick
for like
is
if you
on a
speak
mountaintop.
Bible code,
You speak Bible code. Yeah, that's what you're just you're deciphering it for us.
I feel like I'm
So
doing this
Garrick's on a
every episode
mountaintop.
for Garrick.
He gets a carrier pigeon coming in with a message from God saying, "You're gonna get a rose." So he interprets that to mean, "Oh, it's this Brazilian chick I want to bang. That's my rose. Perfect." Like, okay, if that's his connection, that's his discernment of this message.
Right. And so that's the thing. Like, yes, God speaks to us. I am not saying that's not true, but then there's like a discernment process of like figuring out what that means. And so his interpretations are just very interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
It looks like the lights are on, but nobody's home. Every time
He's dead behind the eyes. He really is. He's like, there's like nothing there. Like, I'm half expecting like his head to open and just like a little man robot like operating behind his head, because there's nothing there. He's just dead. Anyway, please continue with our
Yeah,
scene.
so I feel like we should just go by couple rather than going back and forth because this was
Yes.
such a pointless episode.
You're finally
so-
understanding that. You're finally
Yeah.
getting that.
Oh no, I said
Lexi?
that 2 hours ago. I was like, this is it's stupid. This episode is dumb. This whole thing is dumb. I'm wasting my time here.
Well,
Not
we
with
are
you ladies.
halfway through the series, so like usually the middle is not the best
Right.
part.
Well, judging
Yeah,
by the
yeah.
commercials for the rest of the season, it looks like it's going to be pretty darn good.
Yeah.
But can we talk about okay? So then finally she accepts the whatever necklace, the pussy necklace, the vagina necklace. Excuse me.
So it can be filled with Jesus jizz
Yeah.
Oh
later
my
that
Um,
night. Oh
and
my god, it
then-
can be filled with Jesus jizz. Literally.
Yes.
No.
God, I'm gonna throw up now.
Brain bleach.
Ugh. Well, Garrick is trying to speak Portuguese to her later on after Danielle gets her all dolled up for her engagement.
Yeah.
And
The we're gonna ask her to be our wife. or
right,
whatever.
and your clips of him speaking Portuguese are priceless. Absolutely
He's
priceless.
practicing in Portuguese how to say, "Will you marry me?" or "Marry us?" And I'm like, shouldn't you have that line down by now at least? Because you've
You
done
should-
it a few times in Portuguese.
Listen, like there, it's not that hard. I mean, Portuguese to learn like 5 sentences in another language, just to memorize,
Yeah, like,
memorize
I
5
feel
sentences
like-
or whatever. 3 sentences.
I feel like given Bert the length of time he was with Bert and I'm sure there are other women in between Bert and this one, but you think he could speak some words in Portuguese? Some maybe love, hey, mi amor. I don't know, maybe something like that. Sister.
I wondered about that too, because like you would think they would have made more of an effort to learn some Portuguese the last round. So like if they're dating someone else who's from Brazil, like you would think that they would have some at least like basic sentences or
They should
something.
they should get Rosetta Stone and literally start learning more because we know this one's not going to work out. So they're going to go back to their country of Brazil to find a new chick after this. Like it's obviously an investment and a long-term investment for future sister wives to just learn Portuguese. Just saying.
I mean, at
You
least
heard
a
it here
little
first,
bit.
friends. Learn Portuguese, get sister wives.
Listen, I speak Spanish and I understood like 5 things he said and I'm like, "Really? Like I don't even speak Portuguese." Like but I get a little bit of your broken English Portuguese whatever. He's like casame. I was like, "Oh my god, he's trying to say, oh my god, what is
He's
happening?"
trying to say marry me.
Yes.
It's bad.
Like, I feel
Ugh.
like you should have at least, had that one at least.
Me amor.
Yeah, whatever.
I can't even do it. I can't do it. I can't even sound like him.
pathetic. He's so pathetic.
Yeah, so then he goes on talking about roses again. I can't even whatever.
I don't even know what he
said.
says. Oh, something about 11 and is good in their country. And
Yeah, like some
correct
sort
me.
of like 11 roses is like a good thing.
and
or
she's
something.
the 12th one because God said roses. I don't.
Yeah. And then he's
I had to
using the-
rewind it to figure out what the hell he was talking about with the 11 and 12, and I'm like, wait, what?
right. And nothing is sexier and more romantic than someone using a translator app to actually go through with the proposal. Well, you
Lexi, will you
me?
marry me?
Well, will you marry me?
So true though.
We just
I'm
want you to
sorry, I
join
did
me
not
and
understand
sister.
that. Can you please repeat? I'm sorry, I did not understand. Like I could just see Siri or whoever being like, "I'm sorry, please."
Oh my god.
I did not understand that. Where's the library? Donde está?
Right. Well, for whatever reason, Natalia says yes, and then she says her heart is beating so fast. Her mom's like, "Yay!" Now her mom didn't say yay, but she sounded super excited.
Yeah, she was really excited for this. 'Cause her daughter's
Um,
getting her green card.
Exactly. Well, Natalia says they have a long journey ahead of them and it won't be perfect. They're all sitting in the bedroom, which is not, it's Natalia's bedroom at the end of the night, this was like the most awkward scene. I don't know why, because Danielle
So
was like
cringe.
instigating it. Yeah, it was cringe.
Danielle didn't leave. Like I was like,
No.
what is
I was like, wait,
happening?
did they change their practices and they're all going to be in the same bed together boning? Like, I mean, I know that Danielle wants her to bone her too, but that's a separate issue. Like,
Danielle should
Yeah.
just get together with Ashley then.
Can we talk about that? Like she tried to kiss her on the lips and Natalia
Yes.
was like, no.
Yes, I saw. Oh, I forgot to mention that. Yes.
Yeah.
So weird.
Like
Yeah.
what was happening there?
Yeah. It's
I-
because Danielle is as freaky deaky as her husband is. And there was an episode, and I can't remember which episode it was, like which season, but they were in Mexico. And there was a scene, and somebody caught a picture of this item on the bed in Danielle's room. And people were like, what is that? What is that? And somebody apparently was like, no, that's like a butthole stretcher. We're like, okay. All right.
Cool.
No, I cannot confirm or deny any of those. I wouldn't be able. I mean, I couldn't find the picture, the screenshot if I tried, but I mean, it just gives you a little, if that is in fact true, like, okay, well, just says a little bit about some of their, you know,
And you know what? Her
desires,
freakiness,
which, whatever.
her freakiness is not enough for Garrick. He will never be satisfied.
He needs
Yeah,
5
can you-
wives.
Yeah.
'Cause
God told him he needs to have more anal sex with other women. Just saying.
Oh my
I mean, if that's
gosh.
your bag, that's your bag. That's fine. I got no issues with any of that. My issue is more of, I mean, it's not even an issue. It's just my point is just that it lends one to think that they have an adventurous sex life. And now that you're saying that like, okay, Danielle wasn't enough for him. Like, what did she do? What kinds of things acts did she engage in that weren't, in an effort to like please him? You know what I mean?
I'm just wondering if he's just like a sex addict that is using God to. There's just something. There's something so cringe and creepy about him.
Yeah. All he
Yeah, for
wants
sure.
is I mean, Becca, what do you think?
Yeah, like it's so interesting to watch them because they're talking about like their faith so much more in this season. Like
Yeah.
they talked about it not at all in the last couple seasons, and then for some reason here they've just been very like, God told us this is what we're gonna do, like we're gonna do this, and like this is a big part of our faith, and like all this stuff. And so I wonder what changed for them, like why they felt that they could talk about that more publicly, but B, why the more emphasis on that this
Right.
season. And partly I wonder, this is just me being
their
cynical.
justification.
Well, yeah, I think this is me being cynical, but I think after the whole thing with Bert, like I think they sort of have to like find ways to justify what they're doing. And I think oftentimes, not saying that faith isn't a big part of their lives, but like people tend to like when they're feeling insecure about something that's happening in life, they tend to use God and faith and spirituality as a way to like justify it.
Yeah.
I wonder how much of that is.
Well,
that.
given that he's, insistent that, that God's talked to him on mountaintops and in garages and whatnot and told him 5 rose wives and, all of these other things, like it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, it seems like that's like his MO to
Right.
make sure,
Well, right. And his interpretation of these experiences is always like affirming what he wants to happen. Right.
Mhm.
Like he's like, oh, yeah, God told us that like there was going to be a sweet rose. And so that's clearly Natalia. And you're like, did God give you a picture of Natalia at that mountaintop? Like, I don't think so. So like, there's
that
some
might not
discernment
be
that needs to happen.
what was meant by that, but
Right. Like, and I've said this before on here, but like when you have an experience of God, like you have to discern like what that is. Well, first of all, you have to discern that it is actually God.
right.
And then once you discern that that's the case, then you can move forward and be like, okay, like what do I think God is telling me through this? Right. And then oftentimes it's not necessarily things we want to hear. Like they don't need to be bad things, but like they could potentially be things that like we weren't expecting to hear. Whereas every time he talks about an experience of God, it's always like affirming, bringing
Exactly.
Natalia into the fold.
What
which I
about
think is interesting.
Yeah, he is something else. And I don't know if I'm vibing with Natalia. I feel like she's using him.
Oh, she's
just
100% using him.
it just is so weird. She
Mm.
does not seem to really click at all with them, but either one of them.
Yeah, no. I mean, how could you? When they don't speak the language, they don't have anything in common. They found her on a website. She's just trying to get a
They
ticket
didn't
out
even
of
find her on
there.
the website. She slid into his
Oh,
DMs or something.
right. It was social
Which to me
media.
makes it worse because he's already been on TV. So why is she sliding into his DMs all of a sudden? You know what I mean?
Was it she? They didn't say who slid into whose, right?
I
They just
can't
said they met on
remember.
social media, right?
Somebody slid into someone's DMs. I don't remember
Right.
which way
But
though.
we don't know.
That's how Ashley and Sarah met too. They said on social media.
Uh,
So that also is, I don't know, interesting.
at least
Especially-
like they, Ashley was not on TV already, so there wasn't that
Yeah.
compared to
Right,
Yeah,
right.
like it
That's
was
true.
more of an organic meeting. Whatever
Totally.
did happen there. If it
Right,
was
right,
social
right.
media, it was like, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. By the way, this is neither here nor there, but I was talking to my husband Will about the 10 dating apps thing and how we tried to name all the 10 dating apps because we were like, oh, I don't even think we could name 10 dating apps, and we managed to between all of us. Will tried to, and he got to 9 on his own.
Oh wow, impressive. Okay.
I know. I was very impressed by him.
Way to keep up with Gen Z or whatever, the millennials. Is
The
Gen Z
best part.
they're dating now. Yeah.
Gen Z, yeah. But the best part about it was remember how it took us a while to come up with J-Date and Christian Mingle, and he came up with them almost immediately.
Oh my god, that's funny. His straight one, the ones you went are the religious based ones. We're all
right.
Grindr, Tinder.
So the best part about it though was at the end we got to 9 and he couldn't think of any more, and I was like, you forgot Grindr. And he was like, oh yeah, I did.
Sure did. Nice. Well done, Will. Well done.
Anyway.
Oh man.
Because they kept talking about the 10 dating apps again on this episode. So anyway.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So no, I think she's completely using them, and they're whatever. I don't know what. I mean, they're using her to get so he can get laid.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure, but his plan, I guess, is to marry her, bring her here. But then we see a preview for next week when they're got this other woman, and what's her name? Danielle's magically not wearing the vagina necklace anymore, and she's having dinner. They're having dinner with this other person who's they say she's from the Middle East,
Michigan. No, she's from Michigan, but her family is
from
somewhere.
Right. But she's Muslim, and so she's used to the idea of polygamy.
Yeah.
So it's not like a weird concept to her. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is going to be interesting because, we're so in love with Natalia that we have to have somebody else in the meantime while we wait for her immigration paperwork because we can't.
What
wait
I don't
that
understand is, so Garrick was talking, and maybe you can elaborate on this, Becca, but Garrick was talking about, intimacy and how it's not necessarily the legal papers of being married, but how it's the commitment to a lifetime of love. So basically, I'm like, okay, doesn't that go against your quote religious beliefs if that paper is meaning something and in the eyes of God in the church getting married, right? You're in the
So this is where it gets interesting. This is when I go through a whole spiel about marriage in the church. So historically, so for example, I'm Lutheran, so I think about it from a Lutheran perspective. In Martin Luther's time in the 1500s, right? Clergy could not marry people legally. That was not their role. So what they would do is they would go to City Hall or whatever they called it in German and get married in the eyes of the government, right?
Okay.
And then come to the church and they would bless the marriage.
Okay.
And so it's interesting that over time that shifted. And now, as a clergy person, I have the ability to do legal marriages.
Just by virtue of being a clergy person.
Right. Which is
have to get something extra. Yeah.
Which is not historically what has been done in different countries.
I didn't know that.
So historically, before there was legalization of marriage, if you had sex, that was consummating a marriage. But that's not the case now.
I hope not. Jesus.
Like there's no one, right? Like there's no one standing in your room making sure you're consummating your
My
marriage to
room,
make sure
bitch, please.
like it's real now, you know. So like there's actual like weird Lutheran porn out there basically where like people were like watching them have sex to make sure like it was a legal marriage, like it was
Lutheran
not.
porn, watching people having sex. What?
Yeah.
What? Wait, what am I listening to? What are
So
you
like,
talking about?
so here's the thing. So okay, so this is your weird history for today, but like Luther married, like he was he was a monk that then
Okay.
ended up getting excommunicated, not by his choice. He did not want to leave the church, but he was
Okay.
excommunicated at that time because of his views on things. And he married a former nun. So you've got a former monk marrying a former nun.
Okay.
And so they had to be like clear that this was a legal marriage. So they had people watch them consummate marriage, which is actually not that weird in the past because like royal couples did this a lot as the same concept, right? Where like it's a real marriage, they consummated it. And so they had
right. They had to provide evidence of like the bloody sheets or whatever.
Exactly. So same concept. However, we don't do that now.
Yeah, thank you.
So like
There's got to be some sort of like category on like some porn website about this.
I wouldn't know because I can't watch porn in Virginia. Fuck you, Glenn Youngkin.
So like
we were joking when I come out there on Thursday, Lexi, to Maryland. I'm like, okay, I'll download porn while I'm in Maryland, and then I can have it to watch if I need it in Virginia.
There's a lot of like lines of like the Virginia Maryland borders. Like, how does that work? It's like, oh, I'm in Virginia, I'm in Maryland. What does your cell phone magically like?
It does. It uses your location.
That's wild to me.
Yeah.
So what
it's
if you
wild.
stand like you have 1 foot in Virginia and 1 foot in Maryland? Like if you're standing over the border.
It's a whole separate category of kink on Pornhub.
Sorry. Anyway, so but I have to talk about this because Garrett is like, oh, like consummating means like a marriage.
Go back to the Lutheran
Right.
porn, please.
But like, and so that's just a very old concept because that was what like made a marriage like official back in the day, right?
Okay.
Like, but that's not a thing now.
So
and so
what
I
did
guess,
Garrick say exactly regarding this?
yeah. Do you have the exact quote, Lexi, or?
I do not have the exact quote.
I do not
That's
either.
okay. He basically is like, you know, a paper celebration that doesn't make a marriage real. What makes a marriage real is like sexual intimacy, is basically what he says. So like,
I was just looking at it as he was just word salading his way of why he could have sex with her tonight versus having to wait until they were actually married.
Yeah. And like, to be fair, like polygamy is not legal in the sense of the word. Like you can't marry more than one person. So like, to be fair, what he's saying isn't totally untrue because like they can't, well, it is.
They can't get a legal marriage. So, well, they went through this on Sister Wives, right? Like, when were they actually divorced? You know, Robin's like, oh, you're not divorced until you sleep with somebody else.
Right. Which is the old idea of like a marriage is only real if like you consummate it, right? Like, so I don't know. It's just the whole concept is very weird to me because I'm like, no one thinks like that anymore. If they do, like, they're just trying to justify other things.
Right. And that's his whole thing is he's just justifying it.
To be fair, though, Danielle did get divorced.
She did.
Like, in reality, it can be legal with Natalia if they actually married her.
Because she got divorced so that she could do this with Bert, but marry her and bring her over under the fiance immigration 90-day crossover here.
Totally.
90-day fiance crossover.
I'm sorry, there's a spider on the wall right now, and I have to kill it.
So
okay, I got it.
Here's the thing, though. So if you were to marry,
down now.
If you were to marry Natalia, then there wouldn't be there would not be a third sister wife from Brazil because there couldn't be. Like he can't divorce Natalia and do another visa
bring
process.
Another
right.
90
Like how would that work? Yeah.
It wouldn't.
And So I
He's
think
only
that's
got
what
one shot. Who's he going to use it on? It's like the old Seinfeld episode. Is are they sponge worthy? Do you guys remember that episode?
No.
Elaine. So it was back in the day when there was the contraceptive sponge was a
Right.
device you could use. And it was, for those who don't know, and this is back in the day when I actually used to teach birth control. So I actually like had them um and whatnot. So they're like, yeah, this little sponge, and you like wet it and stick it in your cooter, and it's got spermicide and all this stuff. And it's like it acts as a barrier method / spermicidal method of birth control. Well, Elaine on Seinfeld that was her preferred method of birth control. And then she found out that they were going out of business, like they weren't going to make them anymore. So she stocked up on the sponges, and she
I
would
didn't know this plot at all. This is hilarious.
Oh, it's awesome. It's great. And it was like whether she was going to sleep with someone was whether or not they were sponge worthy. Like, are you like, because she had a limited supply. She wasn't going to waste them on just anybody,
Are they sponge worthy?
And so it's kind of like that.
That's
Are you 90
amazing.
Day Fiance worthy? You've got one shot. Like,
Yeah.
you could only, which are you going to use it on Natalia?
Right. And so I think he's trying to like I come up with this concept of like, when does it make sense to have sexual intimacy when you can't legally marry all the wives, right? Like that's a problem in polygamy all the time. Is like,
right, that makes sense.
When is it like an actual marriage, right? So I've been watching Big Love,
right,
and they have that situation where they're like, okay, like how do we even make this like official? And they have like this random little thing in their backyard, right? Where they're like, okay, now you're married. And then everybody's like, okay, I have to go work. Bye.
Right.
They just all walk away. Right. And so like it feels weird because it's not an official marriage in the eyes of the law kind of thing.
Right.
Anyway.
Right.
So what he's saying is true, but like he's really just finagling to have sex that night.
Yeah. So the three of them are in bed, and Danielle could not look more excited that there's about to be some sex happening.
Yeah,
and
but
she's like bouncing around in the bed, like, oh my god, you guys, we're gonna cuddle. It's gonna cuddle, because that's what they're calling this, right? We're just gonna cuddle tonight. And it's like, Danielle, get out of the bed so they can cuddle. They can get their cuddle on.
yeah, but then she goes on to say in her interview, it's like I have to detach myself. I'm looking at it as though it's my friend getting married. So she's in like the land of Delulu with her emotions, suppressing them all.
Because she has to in order to fit into this religious,
right, which is not healthy. Nobody should have to detach from their emotions. I need everyone to listen to this because this is very important. You need to feel your emotions, live your emotions, and do not detach from them.
Yes, amen.
100%. Do not drown them in alcohol either. That doesn't help. Trust me, they're still there 40 years later.
Also sound advice.
Yes, because it's the same thing. I mean, like, we drink so we don't feel, right?
Yeah.
Guess what?
Well, and like trying to numb the emotions, whether it be through disassociation, which is what she's describing. Like she's literally describing disassociation,
which is generally looked at as not a good thing.
Right.
If you disassociate, you're in a situation where
so
you're
whether you're doing
disassociating
it that way or through drugs, alcohol, sex, I don't know, you name it, right? If you're trying to numb your emotions, like chances are it's not going to be healthy in the long run. So
yes,
poor
100%.
Danielle, because that's not going to be a good situation for her going forward.
No, and it already isn't. You can already see how tortured she is on her face. Like, this whole thing is eating her up so badly, but she's twisted herself in pretzels, literally inside out, to make herself okay with this, because this is what she believes she has to be okay with.
Right.
And it's just, oh God, it's so horrifying when you think about the level of abuse.
The Fraudcast will be right back.
And now back to the Fraudcast.
Lexi, is there anything else about Garrick and Danielle that we should discuss?
We talk about him because he's so dumb, right? He's literally so dumb, and he's just like, we laugh at his stupidity, but the bottom line is that they're using this the religion to abuse and coerce and to force, and it's an unhealthy dynamic, and it's abusive. spiritually abusive, it's emotionally abusive, it's manipulative. There's so many things that are wrong with it, on just an abusive level. Um, that people talk on my Instagram all the time about, well, she's either just as complicit, and why doesn't she leave? Why she's gonna leave any day now. No, she's not. Like, why doesn't she leave? And this is and I feel like you totally opened my eyes on this, Becca, because I was in that same camp for so long. And then when you were talking about how they coming from this background and likening her to like Anna Duggar, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that when you think about it from that perspective, that they're raised in this belief that this is what they have to believe in, and regardless of what she really thinks or not, she has to find ways to justify it because this is what she's told she has to do. And I think that this is just such a fascinating subject about people willing to live this way. And this is a whole not a topic not for now, but like people choosing to live this way, which seems so tortured because that they think that's what God wants of them. And that to me is such a confusing concept because I just don't get it. And I mean, I come from a completely different background with religion, so I don't have the education and the indoctrination that a lot of these people do. So it's not like something normal for me, but that's a whole other, whole other thing. But with her, I mean, if you look at her from that perspective, it makes sense about why she's there and why she stays, why she looks so tortured all the time.
Yeah, like
Anyway.
she's been taught that like she's supposed to follow Garrick, right? And like if Garrick says God has told us we're going to have 5 wives, like as the head of the household, as the spiritual head of the household, she is supposed to agree with that and also
get in
agree
line.
that and that's what God wants for them. So
Right.
And what's scary is she's voiced her concerns to him, and I feel like they're going to deaf ears because he's just not paying attention. But she's like, I don't think we're ready yet. Like,
Right.
hey, slow down. And it's like, no,
Mm-hmm.
it's all on his pace, his time.
We saw that
His
a couple
everything.
episodes ago. I mean, we're seeing that, with every discussion. You told her that you told her you're scared. How dare you express your real feelings to this woman that we're allegedly going to marry? How dare
Right.
you?
Right.
Was basically what he said, and so she's got to get with the program and get on board with it and quick if she wants salvation from this God that seems like, I don't know why you'd want to please that God personally. If that's what your God wants from you, then wow. But that's personal religion stuff that I can't speak on. I just don't know. I just come from such a different world on that I don't have enough to I don't know enough to know what I don't know.
Well, and if you grew up with that, right? Like you don't know
Mhm.
anything else. Like there's no other way that you've been taught to
Right.
think of God. And so that's what you're expected to do and be and think about God that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think about like I'm fascinated with David Koresh's
Mhm.
cult stuff, and not fascinated in the like I'm gonna go down a rabbit hole on YouTube and like get indoctrinated or anything. I'm fascinated by the like in the way that I'm fascinated by a lot of cult stuff and just the way people react in group settings and group think versus individual think and stuff. That's why I was a sociology major in college, like
Yeah.
it's why my special my focus was, social control and things like that. Like this is just fascinating to me. Um the way that the David Koresh people lived, it just seems so horrific just from a logistical standpoint. I'm like, it's hot and it's dusty and I'd be thirsty all the time, and like it's like that's just uncomfortable as I sit here in my air conditioned house, curled up with my blankets and my heating pad, with all my comforts, and they're and they and then give up the wives so all the wives can sleep with David, and like just some of it is just so outlandish to me, and I'm like, why are they, but then you get into cult behavior and cult brainwashing, and that's a whole other thing too, right?
Well, and so to bring it back to like the consumer culture thing, like we all just want love, belonging, and community. And like that's a lot of what these new religious groups are offering people is like this love and belonging and community. that they may not be getting elsewhere. And that's why it's so hard to leave, right? So like going back to Danielle, like that's your community.
Right.
Like, and so if she were to, say this is not how I think about God, I'm not into this like lifestyle, I'm out. She could lose family, friends, everyone she knows, and then like what are you gonna do?
Right. 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 She doesn't she doesn't know any different. That said, you know who does know different? The Alamo folks. And I want to make a correction, or Alamo. Apparently, so I had thought that Tony Alamo was in prison for life. He actually died in prison
Oh,
a while back. So
got it.
like 2017 or something like that. I remember a 7 in the number. So anyway, so yeah, so I just making that correction. But let's move on to those
The
folks.
Ryan. So they went to see Stephanie, even though Stephanie told them not to, which, consent is not being considered here at all. But anyway, so they show up, and first, in the last episode, they paid her gym membership.
Yeah. So
which
weird.
Is
like, yeah.
creepy. And
you
then
better appreciate all these things we're doing for her.
Right. And so then they show up at her door. And I think my favorite part about this whole thing is they clearly just used like some producer to like read what this woman said, because she didn't give them the permission to use her likeness or her voice. So they had to like literally recreate what she said. And it was like so interesting to hear it, because I'm sure it wasn't the same way she said it. So it's just like someone reading the words off a page.
But they made it like it was real.
It was
like
so weird.
As if we were listening in on the conversation.
Well,
oh my God.
They used Becky's actual words. So like you hear Becky like getting really, really upset. And then
Becky's
you have
half
like
of the conversation.
Right. And then the other half of the conversation is just someone reading the other person's words
like,
off a page.
It's like the producer going like, I told Justin not to come.
But you told Dustin I love you last night, and now you're with Greg?
I'm with Greg now.
It's so weird. It was just and I understand they had to figure something out because they didn't get her permission and like whatever. I get it, but like it's still just so weird.
Yeah. So
yeah. We find out that Stephanie's an on again, off again relationship with this so-called friend Greg. Which
And
So
he wasn't on board with her being in a polygamous relationship.
Right. And I had to look this up. So like who's the guy in this couple again? I was Justin. Right. He says that Greg, right? I put that in quotes because they changed the names of the two people, but like is her friend. And I was like, what is
friend
that?
With benefits.
So I looked it up. It doesn't really mean that. It just means like a very close friend. And like it's supposed to come from like how kids talk about their friends. Like it's supposed to like be like,
he's my friend.
Exactly. And I was just
that's so weird.
I didn't know that was a thing until I looked it up on Urban Dictionary.
Oh my God. Like Gen Z and all their new language. You gotta get off my lawn. Like, what is happening to me? I can't understand.
Like, I can't imagine as someone who's like going to be 40 in a couple of weeks, like saying, this is my friend.
Pastor Becca, you're my friend.
Pastor Becca's my friend.
Wait for me.
The way Kaya talks, right?
And no, Kaya has better enunciation than that.
I was going to say, Kaya doesn't even talk
hey,
like
Kaya,
that.
Can you say the word friend? Friend. Do you hear that?
No,
that was great.
Come say it in here.
Say it to the microphone.
Come say the word friend. You can't? Why not? Okay, she can.
Okay. I heard it. It was good.
Yeah.
All right.
She said, wait, why can't you? You're shy.
Oh, no, you're not.
Now you're being shy.
You're just tired.
Hey,
Kaya.
So,
do you like Cody?
We get this relation. I mean, this is the scene. Like, what? And then I feel like I said everything I needed to say about this couple, like, last time, because it triggered me so much, this lack of consent and all this stuff. But it just goes like, this whole thing is like done obviously for TV, but if assuming that they didn't do it for TV, assuming they really decided that they had no boundaries and were just gonna go drive there, even though she told them not to, um, assuming all of that, like now what? Okay, you talk to her now. Like, did you expect closure from that? Which, by the way, closure I think is a stupid fucking term and concept, but whatever. When it comes to a relationship, you don't need another person to get closure in your relationship. It's about you, not them. Anyway, um, they like what now? What do we do with them now?
Well, I found it interesting that when the breakup happened, or when Stephanie, or whatever her name is, not Stephanie, the girl, the woman, Becky, went to the door and then got back into the car. She did not tell Justin what was said until they got back to the hotel.
Right. She
And
was
it
like, "Oh, that's her mess. I'm not gonna."
Right. But I almost think she did it because she didn't want a reaction from him or something. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, he didn't go to the door. He was staying in the car. There was just some weird situation. She's like, well, I'll let you talk to her.
Oh,
I'll let you
'cause
talk to her. And I'm like, that's interesting. And then
because
it was
she might be intimidated. Remember?
exactly. And that's why I was like, something else is going on with that. There's something more to that whole scenario.
It would not surprise me at all if he was violent towards her. Excuse me.
Or at the very least intimidating, right?
And he even said, he's like, if I was in my 20s, I would whoop his ass. But
Yeah,
I'm an adult now. I'm
But
like,
now
are
I'm
you?
old. I'm like, or you just realize like violence isn't an answer to something. I don't know. I don't know.
He's willing to take a bullet for this chick, and she's banging some other dude and is ghosting them. Like, what? What?
I love her to death. No, you don't.
Yeah, but she got a free gym membership out of it for a year.
She's gonna look real good for Greg.
Her friend.
Her friend.
She's gonna look real good for Greg.
Hey, Katrina, we need to make shirts that have arrows that point next to matching shirts that say, this is my friend.
This is my friend.
I'm with stupid. This is my friend.
This is my friend.
Oh my gosh, I want that.
Oh my god.
I don't know. Like, this was kind of the end of the episode. Nothing much else happened.
That's it.
But I will say though, what?
No, we didn't talk about the ones I skipped.
To talk about.
Oh, the Quran stuff was interesting, where they were talking about what's allowed in the Quran and what isn't.
As far as wives living in separate houses or living together, that was kind of interesting.
I did research on what they're actually quoting from the Quran. And so this is the quote from the Quran, the Quranic verses on polygamy. It says, if you fear that you shall not be able to deal justly with the orphans, marry women of your choice, 2 or 3 or 4. But if you fear that you shall not be able to deal justly with them, then only one. And that's from Al-Nisa 4:3.
So it's like, if you're an asshole and can't handle it, don't do it.
Yes, but also
Cody Brown, are you listening, Cody Brown?
But here's the interesting part. The context of this is in war. So basically that it's suggesting that, like, you know, in war, if like a bunch of dudes die and there's women and children that are orphaned, basically that's the word they're using.
Right. You go and marry them.
Then go and marry them, because it was at a point in history where women couldn't fend for themselves without men. Right.
Okay.
So like, it makes sense because they wanted those people cared for. But like, so that's the whole context that it's in. So there's a lot of scholars, and I went down the rabbit hole with this. So there's a lot of scholars that say like, well, this is moot now because this was for a specific context, like where a bunch of women and children were left to fend for themselves. We shouldn't be doing polygamy anymore in Islam. And then other people are like, no. Like, this is actually like showing that in order to care for our fellow neighbor, like we should be doing polygamy. And it says like, it's not unlimited polygamy. It's up to 4 wives. And only if you can like actually treat them equally.
It's not mandating.
Right.
The principle of plural marriage. Like,
yeah. So it's like a very specific way that is expected to have plural marriage happen. So anyway, just very interesting.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate you looking that up because that's a new insight that I've learned today. And
Why
also
we
it
have
makes
Pastor Becca.
right. And it makes perfect sense though. I mean, if you really think about it, like care for one another, take care. Now, of course, they're talking sex on another level, whatever with wives, but I'm saying like looking after the quote poor women and children that can't fend
Right.
for themselves. You know, like I get that. I totally get that.
Yeah.
For
I
back
mean,
then, obviously.
isn't that in the Bible too?
Not
Well, yeah, caring for the widow and the orphan and that kind of
Yeah.
yeah, for
but
sure.
like
But
not
not
sleeping with
polygamy. I mean,
But
like
not
polygamy's in the
polygamy, I don't know.
Bible. Polygamy's in the Bible, just not connected to that concept. Just want to be clear.
Okay.
wait, so is that like the only part of polygamy in the whole Quran?
That's the one. Every time I kept searching, that's the only verse that kept popping up. So I don't know if there's other parts that like allude to it, but that's like the verse that specifically talks about it.
I
And that's
see.
the verse they talked about in that scene.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Did they get it right in the scene?
No.
So sort of. I mean, like they talked about the equal treating of wives, right? Like
Yes.
that they got correct of like the idea that like
Mhm.
you shouldn't take more than one wife unless you can treat them equally and
Right,
just.
right.
And if not, like just have one.
Right.
So they talked about that, but like it was interesting, like the argument around like you have to have separate households. Like I couldn't find anything that had anything like that. So
like the wife, because you missed it, you fast forward. The wife Nyla or whatever was
Yeah.
saying that she wants the woman to live in the with them under
Right,
the same roof.
Oh, okay.
Now the
And they were
mom was saying
you
that-
have to
No,
have
no,
separate
no.
households. Yeah.
the Quran says you have to live in separate households if you're going to practice polygamy or whatever.
and you can't find anything to support that. Maybe they're just bastardizing or twisting around
Mm.
the treat them equally part.
Maybe I don't know, or maybe like there's just other verses I didn't find that like allude to that, but like this is the only like specific verse I could find about practicing
Specific
polygamy in the
reference.
Quran.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't think there's anything specific about that. So I think Nyla was right when she's like, no, it doesn't say that. It just says they have to be treated equally. But
Yeah.
also the whole context of polygamy in this verse is like war. So
Right.
like I don't know.
It's a whole like again, context is important.
Right.
So
But yeah,
Mhm.
so that was very fascinating to watch that conversation though. Like you don't often see people on national television having an argument about verses in the Quran.
in the Quran,
Like,
yeah. So that is nice to see. Yeah.
that was kind of cool.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
Yes.
That's it then, right? Because we
think
didn't get the
so.
Davises. We didn't get the planet.
Yeah, we see
in
like
we didn't get the planets in alignment of the week of the the week of the
We're
eclipse.
about to see how much sun the new planet gets, right?
exactly. Which the rest of the season looks like it's pretty good because we see Danielle crying when Nick and the whole family want to start dating again or bring that up potentially. And then we see a girl come into the house to date and Danielle looked like she wanted to strangle a bitch. Excuse my language.
Oh yeah, the one getting in the hot tub.
Yeah, I didn't understand what she said. I like reversed it and watched it like 4 times. She's like, I'm going to recreate this household. And I was like,
Yeah.
what is this?
I was like, what does that mean?
I don't know. It doesn't. I was not getting good vibes from the new
Maybe
chick
she
though.
meant the way that I think I ultimately took it was she meant it as like she was going to be the matriarch now, not what's her name, who's always like very
okay.
adamant about being the matriarch. Everybody knows that she's the first wife, she's the matriarch. That like there's definitely a hierarchy of wives, which is what you guys have alluded to as far as why Danielle might be having issues is because she is being delegated like last and not.
Then she should be happy to have a new sister wife coming in so she won't be lost anymore.
But
Yeah,
maybe
but
it's
it's
just
even less time for her.
I was
then.
gonna say
Yeah,
Even-
but I mean they all share the same bed except for the boom boom room. I mean, I don't know.
Boom room.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Like, I want to see that line in context. And I'm going to be really
Mhm.
mad if they do that reality TV thing where they show a line and then don't show that later.
Don't show the actual scene.
The actual scene. Like, I'm going to be real mad because I want to know
Yeah,
what the
for
context
sure.
for that is. Because I legitimately sit there being like, what does that mean?
Yeah. Well, we see Justin going on a date with some random chick who says she wants her man to be all hers.
So why are
And
you on a
then-
date with?
Why are you on a date with a polygamist?
Right. And then what else?
the Merrifields. Oh no, we already talked about
Oh,
that.
we talked about that. But yeah,
Yeah.
where like Natalia isn't wearing the necklace and she's like, a lot has changed. And then you see this woman from Michigan being like, I'm Muslim, so I'm used to the idea of polygamy. And then
Right.
like you see her on the couch and with Garrick and being like, God made this meant to be or something like that. And then and we're like,
did
did he actually delete the dating apps? I have questions.
I don't think
No,
he
she probably
did.
slid into his DMs too.
You think?
Uh-huh.
Well, because like I mean, I told you that I did, but I didn't. So
Listen, one of us has got to slide into Garrick's DMs. I'm not doing it.
I'm
I already
not
did it for
volunteering.
Danielle.
I do
No,
not
not
volunteer.
it. Not it.
Not
Not it.
Not it.
Oh, you're the nose goes. Nose goes,
Nope,
Katrina.
Nope.
Want me to
Okay.
do it? I'll
Anybody
do
wants
it.
to volunteer as tribute to slide into his DMs? No, you know what though? That just reminded me. I had somebody contact me who said Danielle slid into her DMs.
No.
It was years ago. I'm suddenly remembering. I'm having this memory. Yeah, this woman.
Which Danielle? The Garrick Danielle or
Yeah,
the Nick
Danielle of
Okay.
Garrick and Danielle had slid into her DMs asking if she was interested.
That was probably production asking Danielle to go on a mission to recruit people to be on the show. I'm kidding.
Could have been, but it also could legitimately have been Danielle. But then somebody else like responded and like they were able to like get some tea on it on like talking to her. Like, I don't know. It was like,
all right, I'm gonna remove the podcast from my profile temporarily, and I'm gonna go on a mission.
Where's your Finsta? Don't you have a Finsta to do that with?
A what?
A Finsta? A fake
fake Instagram.
Oh yeah, but who's gonna respond to a fake Instagram account?
Well, if you build your fake Instagram properly, then
I don't have time for that shit, Katrina. I'm just gonna get on my real one and do it. I don't care.
Oh my god.
Nope. Here comes Alexis.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit Alexis.
Not Garrick's type though. I ain't gonna go very far.
Well, I mean, maybe if you parade in a bikini, that's his thing.
Trust me, nobody wants to see that. But I will say,
Lexi's not really his type, though.
No,
he's
also,
not 21 Brazilian.
I have black hair in some of my pictures, though. Maybe I'll look like more like
Latina.
So
you do speak
Russian.
Spanish.
That's true.
So my husband Will has a theory about Garrick.
Ooh,
that I want to share.
I would love to hear this.
Wait, why haven't we included Will's theories before?
He talked about, it was funny because like he had mentioned it briefly in the last season when they were dating someone else briefly, like when Bert were on the outs with Bert.
When this exact storyline repeated previously.
Yeah, it's literally the same plot. But and Will made some comment like, so he dated Bert and now he's dating this woman. Like, is he just trying to make the most diverse harem he can? And like I had totally forgotten it until I saw that they were dating this young woman from Michigan who's also of color. And I was like, oh no, like maybe he is, because he's got like the white wife and then he's got the Brazilian wife and then he's got the
is it like his weird fucked up version of the arc where he feels like he has like this directive that he has to repopulate the earth with these specific racial women?
I don't know, but it's something to consider since all the women, because the woman he dated last time was black and so of African descent. And so I'm like wondering, like, is he specifically seeking out different racial backgrounds for his new wives?
You know how he's like a serial killers have, some of them have like checklists or like ideas of who they want to murder first. He probably has like a sex list where he's just going around checking off races. Like, I'm going to get this chick. I'm going to get this chick. Sick bastard.
Yeah. But like, I hadn't even thought about that until Will mentioned it.
That is actually that. I feel like that makes sense for him. Like it fits for him. It tracks for his weird mountaintop roses.
Rose.
He was clearly
all day. Rose all day.
He was clearly drinking rose all day on that mountaintop.
But you know what? This chick's not going to make it because she speaks English. And so she's going to understand all of his bullshit. Like, she's going to be like, there's no translator app needed. She's going to be like, this guy is
there's nothing. I mean,
psychotic.
Yeah, nothing's getting lost in translation. She's catching every bit of it.
Exactly.
I'm excited to like see that dynamic though.
Me too.
Because we've only seen them. I mean, they briefly dated someone from America, but she was there for like 2 seconds. Like she literally
Right.
came out to visit and then it like didn't work out. So
Mhm.
like I'm curious like if this woman sticks around a little bit, like what that looks like, because he's mostly dated not Americans.
Right.
Mhm.
So it'll be
Right.
interesting.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Um, I mean, yeah, I feel like they're the only ones that are doing like really dating.
Yeah, they're trying hard.
Or no, Danielle, the Davises, the other Danielle. I feel like those are the only two families that have like legitimate relationships happening. Like I feel like the Alamos, that's all bullshit. I feel like certainly the doctor and the actor are bullshit.
Oh yeah.
And the other one is like, well, this something didn't work out, but we've got to fill the airtime anyway.
I feel like Shane and Ashley, they should just be like, we have an open relationship. Like, forget the polygamy, whatever they're
Yeah.
seeking. Just
Stop
know you
trying to
have an
make
open
it
relationship.
Yeah. And
sister wife.
I was
'Cause-
having this conversation with someone recently because like they don't fit the sister wife thing. So I'm like,
Right.
literally, they're just showing a model of like ethical non-monogamy,
Right. 100%.
which is
100%.
fine, just not really this show.
Right, right. Which I would love to see more of legitimate, actually. Like somewhere between this show and Couple to Thruple, like some more legitimate, like dating, like ethical non-monogamy dating shows would be, I'd be interested in actually seeing how that stuff goes down. Because like when I hear stories from my like poly friends about their dating stuff, like it's all fascinating to me. Like, how the different dynamics work and what they are talking about before, oh, he's talking to his people, I'm talking to my person. Like, we have to get the clearance and like just like the logistics and like all these things are just so much,
That
just
sounds like so much work.
it does.
So
Which
much
is
work.
it's like I am very, very, very much a monogamist. Um, like, I mean, if something were to ever happen and I was no longer married to TJ, like I would be open to gender differences. Like not I wouldn't necessarily like need to find a man. Like I'd be open to whatever. But I'm not open to ethical non-monogamy because I'm very much a monogamist, right? Like so hearing about it and watching it is just fascinating to me because it's so not my own reality. That's why I love watching this stuff. Watching Below Deck. It's like this is so not my reality. Thank God for that.
Yeah. And I mentioned this before, but like going into learning about polygamy, I was very anti it at first because it's been very patriarchal and like blah blah blah, right? Like fill in the blank. But as I've started to watch and like see some couples that actually do it decently, which they've of course kicked all those off the show because they were not exciting TV.
Right.
But like and you could say that some of them work because everyone is on board with the patriarchy, but that's a whole other conversation.
100%. Yeah.
But like, now that I have a like little kid and we're a nuclear family and like I don't have a village helping me raise my child. I'm like, my tired ass would love to have some form of alternative family structure where like there's multiple people to help. Right.
With the
like
child. Yes.
Yeah. And I'm not saying sister wives necessarily, but like maybe a full house situation where there's like a whole bunch
That
of
would be
people living.
cool.
Right.
There's a lot of adults and
yeah. Like something. And so I'm like at the point where I'm like, I don't think the nuclear family is be all end all, friends. Like I feel like there's got to be other structures that like work for people. So
yeah,
I don't
that's
know.
why I'm so fascinated, like hearing about it. I mean, like I've got a few friends in the polygamy world, or not polygamy, but polyamory world, but not so many such that it's the norm by any stretch. And so I am fascinated. I would love to see more of an actual, how that actually works, not necessarily done up for, the hypes and the lulls,
True. But it's just interesting. Like I'm so much more open to the idea of different family structures than I think I would have been previously. Now, with that said, like all of these are the ones we're watching are pretty dysfunctional.
Oh
because
yeah.
they make good TV.
Yeah,
But like,
yeah. 100%.
because I know like people who are actually like boring because it works are like doing different family structures and they're like functioning well.
Right,
So,
right. Exactly. I mean, arguably, I have a different family structure in that, I mean, we're divorced family, right? So my child has four parents because, each of his parents, me and his dad each remarried. Same thing with my stepdaughter, she's got four parents. And, so there's kind of a village there, one of her four parents will, should be available to do whatever it is that's necessary. And when she, needs support, or when we're rallying behind her or whatever, she's got all four of us behind her, and and it was the same thing for, my son, we're pretty and really, really functional. My ex and I are really functional, and his wife and I, and all of it is really, really functional. So it was really good. And it turned, worked into a really great, family structure. And whereas like I would go to the plays of my son's stepsister, like if that does that make sense, like my ex-husband's wife's daughter from her first marriage like would be in plays and stuff, and because of our family structure, like I would go watch them perform, and things like that. And it's like very some people might find that strange, how are you related to them? But it is great having that village. You have all these people to support, more people to love your kid, and I think it's great. And so I do hope you find some, because it's
some
very
village.
your village. Yes.
It'd be nice. I just think like I don't know, nuclear families are just very isolating. And with the childcare crisis in America, which, we've talked about,
Mhm.
like having village. I'm sure Lexi can relate to
As
wanting
Kaya, we see Kaya's
we
hands
see Kaya's
reaching
arm.
I'm so
coming.
overstimulated. My nervous system is on fire all day, every day.
No.
I can't get a break. Yeah, hear
Yeah.
that? Say hi, Kaya.
Hi,
Okay.
Kaya.
Hi, Kaya.
Kaya, say hi. You're shy.
Can you say,
Okay.
okay, goodbye?
You say goodbye?
Can you end the show for us?
You say in the microphone?
Say thanks for listening.
You want to tell Pastor Becca how you say your prayers? No. Okay.
You
All right.
cry?
And with
That's
that,
cool.
with that, you guys, we are out. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.